Before we begin, if you enjoy horror mysteries, internet lore, and deep dives into strange worlds, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me what you're most excited to see in the Backrooms movie. With Kane Parsons' Backrooms movie, thousands of new fans are discovering the series for the first time. But if you've watched a few episodes and found yourself completely confused, don't worry. Today, we're going to explore the complete story of Kane Parsons' Backrooms universe, from its mysterious origins to the terrifying events leading up to the movie. Trust me, it all begins decades before anyone ever falls into the backrooms. In 1972, a scientist named Ivan Beck was conducting experiments involving a machine known as the Low Proximity Magnetic Distortion System. At the same time, Earth was struck by an intense solar storm. Something went wrong. The machine overloaded, releasing an energy surge that severely injured Beck. He survived, but the accident left him permanently changed. What nobody realized at that time was this accident that connected Ivan Beck to something far larger, something waiting beyond reality in itself. Throughout the following decade, Beck continued refining his research. Eventually, he joined a company known as Async. Officially, Async's goal was simple: solve humanity's storage and housing problems forever. Unofficially, they were trying to punch a hole through reality. In October of 1989, Async conducted another test. The machine generated an enormous electromagnetic disturbance. At that exact moment, California was struck by devastating Loma Prieta earthquake. But as for Async, the earthquake wasn't the biggest story, because during that experiment, they've succeeded. A doorway opened. Beyond it stretched an endless labyrinth of yellow rooms and fluorescent lights. The complex was fans known as the Backrooms. Async had made first contact, and unlike the internet stories, Kane's version of the Backrooms isn't made of levels. It's one enormous evolving structure. A place that seems alive, that changes, and most especially, shouldn't exist. Async immediately began sending research teams inside. At first, everything seemed strangely normal. The walls and the lights, the ceiling tiles, every material looked familiar, yet none of it made sense. The lights never shut off. The building stretched endlessly. There was no sign of who or what had built it. And they discovered something far worse: a dead body. The corpse belonged to a missing person, someone who should have been in the real world. The discovery proved a horrifying possibility that people had been entering the complex long before Async found it, and many never came back. In March 1990, researcher Peter Tench entered the complex during a routine expedition. While exploring, he heard something. Voices, a crowd, people calling from somewhere beyond the walls. Then, a strange blue flash appeared. The lights flickered and Peter vanished. His team searched, but he was gone. Months later, Async officially declared him dead. A tragic accident, they said. Case closed. Except Peter wasn't dead. still inside the complex. 2 months after disappearing, Peter Tench suddenly reappeared. But something was wrong. For Async, months had passed. For Peter, only a few hours. The complex had somehow distorted time itself. The government quickly covered everything up. Peter's death certificate remained active. Officially, he was still dead. But privately, Async isolated him and tried to understand what had happened. But Peter became increasingly unstable. He no longer trusted reality. He believed Async, the government, and even his own rescue might be illusions created by the complex. Eventually, he escaped. And desperate to return to his family, Peter took a researcher hostage and attempted to flee. And the attempt failed. Soon afterward, Async announced that Peter had died again. This time under suspicious circumstances. Many researchers suspected the truth was being hidden, and that they may be right. The green light. As investigations continued, researchers discovered one of the most important mysteries in the entire series. Certain areas of the complex appeared warped and distorted. Rooms stretched unnaturally, objects merged together. Entire sections seemed incomplete. Every time this phenomenon appeared, the entire eerie green glow could be seen nearby. Many fans believe the green light is actively reshaping the complex itself, almost as if reality inside the Backrooms is constantly being rewritten. And if that is true, the complex isn't just a place, it's a process. Until this point, Async controlled access to the complex, but eventually the Backrooms began appearing elsewhere. Known zones, thin spots between realities, doorways that could open anywhere. One appeared inside a furniture store. Its owner, a man named Clark, became obsessed. Night after night, he explored the endless maze, trying to understand it, trying to map it, trying to uncover its secrets. And then one day, he'd vanished. Just another victim claimed by the complex, and he wouldn't be the last. Throughout the 1990s, more people accidentally entered the Backrooms. A young girl discovered a strange anomaly in her garage floor. Curious, he experimented with it. And months later, the boundary collapsed. The entire room was pulled into the complex. Her fate remains unknown. Then came perhaps the most famous victim, a teenager named Kane. While filming with friends, he suddenly no-clipped out of nowhere, out of reality, and into the Backrooms. What followed became found footage, one of the most iconic horror videos ever uploaded to the internet. Kane wandered through impossible hallways, strange locations, and massive underground spaces before eventually encountering a life form. The creature stalked him, even chased him, and finally caught him. The footage ended there, but the story didn't. Years later, another man named Ravi found a hole in his basement wall. Beyond it lay the Backrooms. He spent nearly 10 hours wandering through some of the strangest locations ever seen in the series. Entire neighborhoods and cities, industrial zones, places that looked real but weren't. And eventually, Ravi discovered a thin boundary between worlds. Someone on the other side could hear him. For a brief moment, Escape seemed possible, but the boundary collapsed. And Ravi was left trapped forever, alone inside an infinite world. A world that keeps growing, changing, expanding, and waiting. And that's where the story stands today. From Ivan Beck's first experiment in 1972 to Asing's discovery of the complex, the countless people swallowed by its endless halls, every mystery points toward one terrifying question. What exactly is the Backrooms? A place? A living organism? A parallel reality? Or something far stranger? With Kane Pixel's Backrooms movie finally arriving, we may be closer than ever to finding out. So if you enjoyed this complete timeline recap, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more horror lore breakdowns, and comment below with your greatest theory about the Backrooms. Thanks for watching, and remember, if ever hear fluorescent lights buzzing where it shouldn't be, don't follow the sounds. Before we begin, if you have a dark curiosity stories that sit at the back of your mind long after the screen goes black, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. It helps the channel more than you think and lets me know you want more stories like this. Now imagine this. You're walking through an empty office. Yellow walls, buzzing lights, endless looms. You turn a corner and something feels off. And then you realize there's no way out. The Backrooms began with a single image. Posted online in 2019, an empty yellow-tinted office space. No windows, no people, just fluorescent lights humming overhead and rooms stretching into infinity. But it wasn't just the image that unsettled people. It was the idea behind it, that this place might even be real. That just beyond a reality hidden behind walls, tucked inside forgotten stairwells, buried beneath buildings, there exists a parallel space. A place you can accidentally slip into. People call it no clipping. A glitch. A mistake. Leaning against the wrong wall. Opening the wrong door. Taking the wrong staircase. And suddenly, you're somewhere else. A place that looks familiar but isn't. A place where every hallway leads to another hallway. A place where you are completely alone. Or at least, you hope you are. In January 2017, a man named Bernard went to a shopping center in Sydney. He was 71 years old, a retiree. He had plans to meet his wife for a normal afternoon, but he never showed up. At first, it didn't seem too strange. He had wandered off before. He had early-stage dementia. But as hours turned into days, and days into weeks, there was still no sign of him. Security checked the cameras. Nothing. Police searched nearby streets. Nothing. It was as if he had simply vanished. And then 3 weeks later, someone opened the door. A door most people wouldn't even notice, tucked beside an elevator, partially hidden by shadow. Behind it was a stairwell. But not just any stairwell. A maze. Concrete walls, harsh lighting, twisting corridors that stretched for miles beneath the building, doors with no handles, signs that pointed in conflicting directions. A place employees unofficially called the Backrooms. That's where they found Bernard. To understand how he got there, you need to hear about someone else. A man named Donnie. Years earlier, Donnie had been in the same mall, trying to leave. The elevators were crowded, so he took a door marked exit. Inside, the door slammed shut behind him. He started walking down the stairs, then more stairs, then more. The signs didn't make any sense. The arrows contradicted each other. He tried to go back, but the door he entered from had no handle. He could even hear people on the other side, but they couldn't hear him. So he kept moving, deeper, further, until the sounds of the mall disappeared completely. It's just silence, endless corridors, locked doors. He wandered for days, and then 5 days later, he was found collapsed at the bottom of the stairwell, dehydrated, injured, and barely alive. He survived. Bernard didn't. And the most disturbing part, he died just meters away from where he was supposed to meet his wife. All he needed was for someone to open the door. Hospitals are supposed to be places of safety, bright, organized, controlled. But they also have something else. Endless corridors, identical rooms, fluorescent lights that never turn off. And sometimes that's all it takes. A firefighter, let's call him Mike, went in for a routine procedure in Montreal. He was put under anesthesia, and when he woke up, something was wrong. He wasn't in a recovery room. He wasn't in a bed. Sitting alone in a long empty hallway, no doctors, no nurses, no sound. Just flickering lights and rows of closed doors. At first, he thought he was dreaming. But the cold air felt real. The silence felt real. He got up and started walking. Every hallway led to another. Every door was locked. Strange, distorted sounds echoed from somewhere far away. Eventually, he found a desk with a phone. He called for help, but the person on another end didn't believe him. Meanwhile, upstairs with his wife waiting. Hours passed. No one knew where he was. It turned out he had been taken to the wrong floor. An empty one. A closed section of hospital that looked almost identical to the active one. The orderly who left him thought someone else would take over, but no one did. He had been completely alone in a place just one mistake away from the real world, but impossible to navigate from the inside. He eventually made it out, but not everyone does. In real cases, patients have gone missing inside hospitals, only to be found days or weeks later in stairwells, maintenance area, places no one thought to check, hidden spaces and places that feel like they shouldn't exist. Now imagine this. You fall asleep on a plane. It's a short flight, nothing unusual, but when you wake up, it's completely dark. The plane is silent and you're all alone. That's exactly what happened to a woman named Tiffany in 2019. She woke up freezing, disoriented, still strapped into her seat. The cabin lights were off. No passengers, no crew, just rows of empty seats stretching into darkness. Outside the window, nothing but a distant glow of airport lights. The plane had been parked far away from the terminal, shut down, with her still inside. Her phone had 1% battery. She sent a message for help and then it died. She even tried to open the door but couldn't see how. The instructions were unreadable in the dark, so she found a flashlight in the cockpit. And the only thing she could think of was she opened the door, started screaming into the night. Eventually, someone heard her. But for those moments, she was completely cut off. Trapped in silent, lifeless space. A place that looks normal, but felt completely wrong. That's what makes the idea of Backrooms so unsettling. It's not just fantasy, it's the realization that places like this already exist. Behind doors you don't notice, below floors you walk on every single day. Inside buildings you trust. You don't need to know clip out of reality. Sometimes all it takes is one wrong turn, one sign, one door that quietly closes behind you, and suddenly you're somewhere no one can hear you. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what you think. Do you believe that Backrooms are just internet horror, or something a little closer to reality? Until next time, if you ever see a door that doesn't quite belong, maybe don't open it. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys again next time. Imagine walking through your house late at night. You pass a hallway you've walked through 1,000 times before, but this time, something feels off. The wall flickers, the carpet shifts beneath your feet, and before you realize what's happening, you fall straight through reality. You land in a place filled with endless yellow hallways, buzzing fluorescent lights, and the overwhelming feeling that something is watching you. Welcome to the Backrooms. Before we dive in, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below if you think you'd survive the Backrooms, or if you'd lose your mind on day one. So now let's talk about what the Backrooms really are, and why the new movie might finally bring this nightmare to life. The Backrooms are one of the most famous internet horror concepts ever created. The idea started with a single image posted online in 2019. It showed an empty office-like space filled with yellow wallpaper, damp carpet, and harsh fluorescent lighting. But the caption turned that strange photo into something terrifying. It said, "If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong places, you'll end up in the back rooms." And from there, the internet did what it does best. The lore expanded. What started as one creepy room turned into thousands of interconnected levels, each stranger and more dangerous than the last. These levels exist outside normal reality. No sky, no sun, no real escape. Just endless environments that stretch on forever. And if you end up there, you might never find your way back. So how do people get into the Backrooms? The most common explanation comes from gaming. In video games, no clipping is when a character glitches through a wall or falls through the map. The Backrooms work the same way. Sometimes reality glitches. A person might lean against the wall, step on the wrong part of the floor, or walk through a door that shouldn't exist. And suddenly, they slip through reality itself. 1 second you're standing in the real world, the second You're falling through darkness, and then you hit the carpet. The smell is the first thing people notice. Wet carpet, old wallpaper, and stale air that feels like it hasn't moved in decades. Then you hear it. The endless hum of fluorescent lights. That's when you realize that you're trapped. Most people who no-clip into the backrooms arrive at level 0. Level 0 is the place that started it all. It's an infinite maze of empty yellow rooms that all look almost identical. Yellow wallpaper, buzzing lights, damp carpet. The layout makes no sense at all. Rooms repeat, hallways loop, walls appear where they shouldn't. You can look for hours, days, maybe even years, and never find the same place twice. And the worst part of it is you're probably not alone. The backrooms aren't just empty rooms. Over time, explorers discovered entities living inside these endless spaces. These creatures aren't animals. They don't belong to our world. Some are tall, shadow-like figures that move in the distance. Some crawl along the ceiling. Others look almost human, but something about them is horribly wrong. Some entities are aggressive. Others simply watch. But one thing is certain. If you're trapped in the backrooms long enough, eventually something will find you. Surviving the backrooms is almost impossible, but explorers have discovered a few strange things that might keep you alive. Food sometimes appears in random places. Energy bars, strange packaged meals, or mysterious supplies left behind by other wanderers. But the most famous survival item is something called almond water. Almond water is a strange liquid found across many levels of the backrooms. It tastes sweet, almost comforting, but does more than just hydrate you. It helps stabilize your mind, because the real danger of the backrooms isn't just the monsters, but losing your whole sanity. The backrooms are terrifying for a reason. It's not just about creatures or danger, it's about isolation. Imagine wandering through endless identical rooms. No windows, no sunlight, no way to tell if hours, days, or weeks have passed. Your memories start to blur. Your thoughts get slower. The endless buzzing lights drill into your brain. And eventually, people start forgetting why they were trying to escape in the first place. Some wanderers are said to walk the halls forever, not because they can't escape, but because they've forgotten that escape was ever possible. Now, after years of internet lore, the backrooms are finally getting a major movie adaptation. The film is being produced by A24, the studio behind psychological horror films like Hereditary and Midsommar. Even more interesting, the movie is directed by Kane Parsons, the creator who made the viral Backrooms found footage series on YouTube. The teaser trailer hints at a story involving a psychologist and a patient who somehow discovered the backrooms. In the trailer, we see rooms slowly changing as the camera moves deeper. Furniture begins to glitch through walls. Doorways disappear. Reality itself begins to break apart. And eventually, everything becomes empty. Just like the endless maze of level 0. It suggests the backroom might not just be a physical place, but something tied to memory, perception, and the human mind, which could make the movie far more psychological than a typical horror film. The reason the backroom became such a huge internet phenomenon is simple. They tap into a very real fear. the fear of liminal spaces, places that feel familiar but completely wrong. Empty malls, abandoned offices, silent hallways, space that look like they should be full of people but aren't. The Backrooms turned that feeling into an infinite nightmare. A place where the world almost look normal, but something is very deeply broken. The Backrooms started with a single creepy image. Over time, they grew into one of the most fascinating horror mythologies on the internet. Thousands of levels, strange creatures, mysterious survival items, and an endless maze that might slowly erase your mind. Now, with the upcoming film adaptation, we finally see this nightmare brought into life on the big screen. But the question still remains. If you now clip out of reality tomorrow, would you be able to survive the Backrooms? Or would you become just another lost wanderer walking those endless yellow halls forever? If you enjoyed this video and want more deep dives into the Backrooms lore, creatures, and levels, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. Let me know in the comments what backroom level would you be most afraid to encounter. Thanks for watching, and remember, if the light starts buzzing and the walls start looking a little too yellow, you might already be closer to the backrooms than you already think. What if I told you that some of the internet's creepiest mysteries didn't come from Hollywood, but from obscure forums, abandoned files, and strange videos deep in the Russian web? Tonight, we're diving into stories that blur the line between hoax and horror stories about creatures that shouldn't exist. Games that feel like they're watching you, and videos that were never meant to be seen. Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment what you think is the creepiest part of this video. But trust me, it only gets better from here. It all started around 2010. Posts began appearing on Russian image boards describing something unnatural, a creature. Witnesses claimed it was spotted outside a residential apartment complex. It was slightly larger than a human, with the long black limbs too long clinging to walls like a spider. According to the posts, it could climb down buildings silently. But once it reached the ground, something changed. Its limbs would shrink, its body would straighten, and it would begin to resemble a tall, thin human figure. The posts all reference to the same thing, a mysterious video file, station_922.mkv. But there was a catch. No one could actually find the video. Only screenshots circulated, grainy, yellow-tinted image of something crawling along building. And then came the warning. The file supposedly contained malware, something that would destroy your computer the moment you played it. For years, the mystery grew. More posts, more circulation, speculation, more fear. Until 2013, when someone finally uploaded the full video. At first glance, it seemed real enough. A dark, shaky recording, barely visible, showing something moving along a building at night. But something felt off. The screenshots people had been sharing for years didn't match the video at all. Different lighting, different angles, different everything. It didn't take long for internet investigators to get involved, and what they uncovered completely unraveled the mystery. The images, taken in a different city entirely, the location traced to a specific apartment building, the source just one anonymous user who admitted the whole thing was fake. The creature had never existed. The images were edited, and the original video, it never seemed to exist either. Years later, someone recreated what it might have looked like. But by then, the illusion had already shattered. What began as a terrifying mystery turned out to be something much simpler. A story that got out of control. But not every story ends so cleanly. In 2013, a user on an anonymous forum made a strange claim. They said their dad had bought a CD years earlier. Just a normal disc with engineering software, but inside the case there was a second CD. No blank, no label. It was just blank. On it was a file, a game called Station.x. Curiosity got the better of them, and they uploaded it. And what people found was unsettling. The game drops you into a strange, empty world. No menu, no explanation. Just a flat, green field under a black sky. 2 buildings, a few scattered objects, and silence broke only by a low, droning sound. At first, nothing happens when they appear. Why featureless faces descending from the sky? They don't chase you fast. They just follow. And if they touch you, the game instantly shuts off. No message. No ending. It's just gone. And people began digging into the game's files. Hidden within them, they discovered coordinates. When entered into a map, they pointed to a remote industrial site in Siberia. And here's when it gets strange. The layout of the buildings in the game matched the real location almost perfectly. The same structures, the same positioning, even the same strange objects. Why would someone recreate such a random remote place? The deeper people looked, the more questions they found. The sounds in the game were traced to recordings of a phenomenon known as a groaning earth. Mysterious noises reportedly heard around the world, but other clues didn't add up. The version of the software used to make the game didn't match the timeline. The CD itself appeared unused. The original poster's story began to fall apart. And eventually, the most likely explanation became clear. The entire thing was fabricated. A failed attempt at an ARGA game designed to feel real. But even if it wasn't real, it didn't stop people from feeling uneasy, because sometimes it's about whether something is true. It's not about whether something is true, it's about how it makes you feel. Now imagine this. You're watching TV late at night. Everything is normal. And suddenly, the broadcast changes. A black screen. White text says, "Do not be afraid." A crude drawing appears. A rabbit. Then, a geometric diagram. Right angle triangle. And more text follows. Instructions. Don't try to change anything. Think only about him. Hands for inspection. And then a warning. People who watch this will grow crazy. The screen flickers. A strange tone plays in the background. And finally, a message. Did it work? This video surfaced online in 2008, claiming to show a hijacked television broadcast. Some believed it was real. Others weren't so sure. As it spread, it became a meme parodied, mixed, and reshaped over the years. But when people took a closer look, the illusion fell apart again. The images were traced back to children's books. The diagrams came from basic math materials. Everything pointed to one conclusion. It was likely made by someone young, experimenting, trying to create something eerie, and somehow succeeding. But the final story is different. A video uploaded in 2009. Distorted audio, a pale, flickering face, broken text appearing on screen. We're roasting an electric video fire. Are there any more dead kids out there? Meet us in the video world. It feels chaotic, unfinished, and wrong. And then rumors spread quickly. Some claimed the video caused hallucinations. Others said it was linked to deaths. But unlike the other stories, this one had an explanation. Hidden in an archived website. It was part of a long-running ARG, a project designed to mimic cursed media, inspired by earlier internet horror stories. But here's what makes it different. The creators never stopped. They kept uploading, expanding the story, building something that blurred fiction and reality for years. And even now, it continues. So what do all these stories have in common? They weren't real, but they felt real. And sometimes, that's enough. The internet has a way of turning small ideas into massive mysteries, of taking fiction and making it believable. So next time you come across something strange online, ask yourself, is this real? Or is it just another story waiting to be believed? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what topic you want me to cover next. And as always, thanks for watching. What if I told you that one of the most terrifying urban legends in New York might not be a legend at all? Before we begin, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from. I'd love to see how far these stories reach. Tonight's story isn't just about a monster in the woods. It's about something much worse. Because sometimes the truth behind the legend is far more horrifying than the story itself. For decades, parents in Staten Island warned their children about something lurking in the woods. They said his name was Cropsey, a shadowy figure, a man who wandered the streets at night, dragging a rusted weapon behind him, a man who took children and made them disappear. The story went like this. Cropsey lived in the ruins of an abandoned mental institution. Once a patient, now something else entirely, he hid in underground tunnels, waiting, watching, and if ever you saw him,
You'd better hope he didn't see you. Like most urban legends, it spread through whispers, campfire stories, playground warnings, but this one's different because the place at the center of the story was real. Hidden in the woods of Staten Island stood the Willowbrook State School. It opened in 1948, promising care for children with developmental disabilities. To parents, it seemed like hope, but inside it was something else entirely. Overcrowded wards, children packed together, sometimes 40 or 50 in a single room. Many left unclothed, unfed, unattended. Staff were overwhelmed, undertrained, sometimes indifferent. Meals lasted minutes. Care was rushed or non-existent. Some children were sedated just to keep them quiet. And then it got worse. In the 1950s, a doctor named Dr. Saul Krugman began a study. He wanted to understand hepatitis, so infected children with it on purpose. Young kids, some as young as 5, were given contaminated substances without truly understanding what was happening. Even at that time, others called it unethical, unjustifiable. But the reality was, Willowbrook had become a place where cruelty could hide in plain sight. In 1965, Senator Robert F. Kennedy visited the facility. What he saw shocked him. He described it as a snake pit. Children living in filth, forgotten and abandoned, and yet even after this, conditions barely improved. Instead, funding was cut, staff numbers dropped, and the institution began to slowly collapse into something darker. By the late 1970s, something strange was happening. People began disappearing. Not just patients, but staff. In 1978, a woman named Ethel Atwell arrived early for work. As she stepped out of her car, coworkers heard her outside talking to someone. A man. They couldn't see him, but they heard him calling to her. "Come on. Come on." Then Ethel said something chilling. "No, you'll beat me." And then she screamed. By the time police arrived, when she was gone, and all that remained were scattered belongings and silence. Just months earlier, another staff member had vanished, later found dead. Rumors spread quickly. People whispered about someone living in the woods, watching, waiting. The legend of Cropsey was starting to feel real. Then came 1987. A 12-year-old girl named Jennifer Schweiger disappeared. She had last been seen walking near the woods with a man, a stranger. When research parties called the area, they made a horrifying discovery. Her body buried in a shallow grave near the abandoned Willowbrook grounds. Police already had a suspect in mind, a man who had been seen nearby, a man with a long disturbing history, and his name was Andre Rand. But that wasn't his original name. Years later, he had worked at Willowbrook under a false identity. He had a criminal past involving children, kidnapping, attempted assaults, and at one point he had even abducted a group of kids, only to return them later with no clear explanation. Just strange, unsettling behavior. When investigators looked deeper, they began connecting him to multiple disappearances in the area. Children, many of them vulnerable, just like the victims in the Cropsey legend. Rand was arrested and eventually convicted for kidnapping Jennifer. But here's what makes this case even more unsettling, is there were no definitive physical evidence tying him to all the crimes. Only sightings, patterns, proximity, enough to suspect. Not enough to fully prove. And to this day, he has never confessed. So what was Cropsey? A myth? A warning? Or a way for a community to make sense of something too terrifying to understand? Because in the end, there was no need for a monster in the woods. The real horror was already there, inside Willowbrook, inside the system, and possibly walking freely among them. So if you enjoyed the story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next one. And tell me in the comments down below, do you think Cropsey was just a legend or something much more real? Until then, stay curious. What if I told you one of the creepiest horror games ever made wasn't actually a horror game? When people think of Call of Duty, they think of explosions, multiplayer, and fast-paced action. But in 2010, Treyarch released something completely different. A campaign filled with brainwashing, conspiracies, psychological torture, disturbing experiments, and one mystery that players are still debating over a decade later. Today, we are diving into the unsettling story of Call of Duty Black Ops, exploring why this game created an atmosphere that no other Call of Duty has managed to recreate. If you enjoy deep dives into dark gaming stories like this, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos every week, and let me know in the comments what was the creepiest moment in Block. Now let's begin. It all starts with the question, what do the numbers mean, Mason? Before you've even fired a single bullet, you're strapped to a chair. Television screens surround you from every direction. Strange voices echo through the room. Military footage flashes across the monitors. Needles, electrodes, interrogators demanding answers. You have absolutely no idea what's happening. And that's exactly the point. Unlike previous Call of Duty games that threw players straight into battle, Black Ops begins like a psychological thriller. You're confused because Alex Mason is confused. Every strange noise, every flickering screen, and every whispered number slowly pulls you deeper into a mystery that refuses to explain itself. Instead of simply fighting a war, you're fighting your own mind. Throughout the campaign, you're constantly dragged back into these interrogations. The room never changes, but your memories do. Every mission raises more questions than answers. Why are these people questioning Mason? Why can't he remember anything? What are these mysterious numbers that never stop appearing? As players, you become detectives, piecing together broken memories alongside Mason himself. The result is a campaign that feels less like a military shooter and more like a conspiracy. Black Ops wasn't just a fiction. Its greatest strength was blending real story with terrifying possibilities. The game throws players into the height of the Cold War, one of the most paranoid periods in modern history. America and the Soviet Union were locked in a silent battle where nobody trusted anyone. Espionage was everywhere. Secret operations happened behind closed doors. Suddenly, you're meeting real historical figures. John F. Kennedy, Fidel Castro, the Bay of Pigs invasion, Vietnam. These aren't fictional locations created for entertainment. They're real events woven into an original story. That realism makes everything feel believable. You begin asking yourself, could something like this actually have happened? The game even references real CIA projects like MK Ultra, a genuine Cold War mind control program that experimented with drugs and psychological conditioning. Treyarch took real history. They pushed it just far enough to fiction to make players wonder where the truth actually ended. And that's where the horror actually begins. Then the story takes us to Vietnam. Previous Call of Duty games had explored World War II countless times, but Black Ops drops players into an entirely different conflict. Vietnam feels oppressive. The jungle isn't beautiful. It's somehow claustrophobic. Every tree feels like it's hiding an enemy. Every tunnel could become your grave. Instead of glorious victories, you're constantly reminded of how brutal this war really was. Soldiers disappear into darkness, entire squads are ambushed, helicopters explode overhead, the battlefield feels chaotic rather than heroic, and even the famous tunnel missions become exercises in pure tension. You're crawling through tiny underground passages with almost no visibility, unsure whether the next corner hides an enemy soldier or death itself. These moments aren't scary because of monsters. They're scary because they feel real. Black Ops also didn't shy away from showing the consequences of war. The violence wasn't over the top for entertainment. It felt uncomfortable. You witness wounded soldiers barely clinging to life. Friends die without warning. Bowman's death remains one of the campaign's most shocking moments because there's nothing heroic about it. It's sudden, brutal, and pointless. Exactly like war itself. Characters who you've grown attached to simply disappear. Others suffer horrific injuries that permanently change them. Unlike many action games where heroes seem invincible, Black Ops constantly reminds you that nobody is safe, and that uncertainty keeps you on edge for the entire campaign. Then comes one of the greatest surprises in Call of Duty history. Viktor Reznov returns. Fans of World War instantly recognize him. The fearless Soviet soldier who fought beside Dmitry Petrenko during the Battle of Stalingrad and the fall of Berlin. Seeing Reznov again immediately connects Black Ops to World at War, but Treyarch didn't stop there. Through Mason's memories, he finally discovered what happened after Germany fell. Victory wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of something even darker. Instead of being celebrated as heroes, survivors find themselves caught in another secret war, one involving biological weapons, government conspiracies, and betrayal from the very people they fought beside. For longtime fans, it completely changes how they view the ending of World at War. The story they thought had ended was only just the beginning. But Reznov's story is where Black Ops truly becomes a horror story. After surviving some of World War II's bloodiest battles, Reznov and Dmitry Petrenko uncover a Nazi project called Novas, a chemical weapon powerful enough to change the world. At first, they believed it could help end the war. Instead, they discovered something far worse. A weapon designed not to defeat armies, but to destroy entire populations. Inside the ship carrying Nova 6, they find a nightmare. Dead bodies, failed experiments, scientists who cross every moral boundary. And when the war ends, the nightmare doesn't disappear. The fight for Nova 6 continues as America and the Soviet Union fight for control of the weapon. And Dmitry Petrenko, the hero from World at War, becomes another victim. After surviving Stalingrad and reaching Berlin, he isn't rewarded as a hero. Instead, he's betrayed. His story proves one of Black Ops' darkest themes. War doesn't create heroes, but instead consumes them. From the beginning of Black Ops, one question follows Mason. What do the numbers mean? At first, they seemed meaningless, but slowly, the truth is revealed. Numbers are part of Mason's programming. Soviet General Dragovich and his scientists turned him into something terrifying, a sleeper agent, a weapon that could activate without even knowing it. The horror of Black Ops isn't just about bullets and battles, it's about losing control of yourself. Mason isn't fighting for just an enemy army. He's fighting against his own memories, his own mind, himself, and the possibility that everything he believes could be
a lie. One of Black Ops' biggest twists is the truth about Viktor Reznov. At first, players believe Reznov is Mason's ally, his guide and friend, but eventually the truth becomes clear. Reznov isn't always there. He's a creation of Mason's damaged mind. After years of torture and manipulation, Mason's brain creates Reznov as a symbol of revenge and survival. Reznov represents everything Mason lost. His anger, pain, need for justice. He's the physical reminder of Mason's broken mind. One of Black Ops' biggest mysteries is also its most controversial. Did Mason assassinate President John F. Kennedy? The game never confirms the answer, and that uncertainty is what makes it so effective. Throughout the story, we see hints that Mason's programming may have connected him to the assassination. Even after stopping Dragovich and saving the world, one question remains. Was Mason truly free, or was he just another weapon created by people he fought against? Black Ops never leaves players without doubt. Black Ops leaves players with doubt, and that doubt makes a story unforgettable. Most games end their mysteries when the campaign begins. Black Ops did the opposite. Even the main menu became part of the story. Players could escape the interrogation chair, explore the room, access secret files, and uncover hidden messages. It felt like discovering classified information you weren't supposed to see. The menu wasn't just a menu, it was another piece of conspiracy. Black Ops is remembered because its horror doesn't come from monsters. It comes from something much more disturbing. Losing control, questioning your memories, discovering governments hiding terrible secrets, realizing your own mind can be manipulated. Treyarch created more than just a military shooter. They created a psychological thriller, a story that made players question that what's really real and what's a lie. And years later, fans still debate the numbers. They still question Reznov. They still wonder about Mason. Because the greatest mysteries don't end when the credits roll. They stay with you. And that is why Call of Duty Black Ops wasn't just a war story. It was a story about broken minds, hidden truths, and a terrifying battle happened inside your head. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into darker side of gaming, make sure you support us by leaving a like, comment down below, and subscribe